If you win the morning, you win the day, they say. As psychologist at FlowLab, I love the idea of starting my day right and building a morning routine tailored towards finding more flow. So I've become an early bird and wake up at 5 a.m. Yeah, and sometimes I use the next 2 hours doom scrolling on my phone. Here is how I structure my mornings for flow states and the decisive moments where I run the risk of failing. Hey everyone, great to have you here for another video. My name is Ava, I'm psychologist and head of content at FlowLab, a mental fitness app that helps ambitious minds to become more focused and productive with guided, personalized meditations, aiming at experiencing more flow states. Just a quick reminder before we start, if you like this video, I'd be grateful if you support us by giving this video a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe button. I don't know about you, but when I see all of these perfect morning routine videos, I get both motivated and at the same time confronted with reality. Because while I often manage to get up on time and care for both my physical and mental fitness before opening my laptop for the first time of the day, there are just as many mornings where I hit the snooze button for like 100 times. Sharing just my ideal morning routine would only capture half the truth. So let's be more realistic. Here are both my best and worst mornings and what I do in the long run to train consistency and reduce the number of unproductive mornings. You can imagine it like a decision tree. In each situation, I decide whether to choose the productive or unproductive option, which changes the remaining script. I usually set my alarm clock between 5 and 6 a.m., depending on when I went to bed the day before, so that I'll have at least 7, better 8 hours of sleep. Especially in summer, when the sun's already shining, I slowly get awake to my on repeat playlist. I avoid checking my mails, messages, and social media for at least an hour, so I won't deplete the dopamine I'll need to find motivation and focus for work and all the things awaiting me that day. 3 minutes of brushing my teeth and a big glass of water later, I'll make myself a coffee while starting my routine to clear my head. I'll write in my journal what I want to focus on today and answer the questions: what do I want to learn today? How do I want to feel today? And what is my biggest priority today? From a flow perspective, this reflection covers the precondition of having a clear goal in mind. Only if we know what we are pursuing can we channel our entire attention on that and identify things that keep us busy, but in reality distract us from our goal. For example, if my most important task of the day is to finish that new flow session, I know that working on an article might be something productive too, but a distraction from what I intended to focus on. I can immediately identify when I'm productive and when I'm keeping myself busy, when in fact procrastinating. That's why I find this routine especially helpful. On my worst days, this is the time where I am either still snoozing or just integrating the music into my dreams. Thanks, brain, that's a huge help. It's this tiny moment where I still feel extremely tired. My eyes hurt and I decide to either overcome it or to postpone my misfortune just 5 more minutes. This is usually the hardest part. My self-control is still very low and it takes a lot of willpower to overcome my weaker self. I've made the experience that the fatigue fades quicker than expected once I get up, and it definitely helps to have something I'm looking forward to in the morning. For me, it's the time I have to reflect on the upcoming day together with my morning coffee. By then, I'm ideally fully mentally awake and want to get into the right mindset for the day. With a guided meditation, I try different styles here to find the best fitting one. Mindfulness meditation, mental imagery, reflections, breathing exercises, and relaxation techniques. My conclusion? Why limit yourself to one tool? I realized that different tools are useful depending on my daily mood, my challenges, and whatever is on my mind. So I use the daily check-in questions of the FlowLab app to gain more insight into what it is I need. Perhaps a confidence boost, deep focus, more drive, or time to recover and clear my mind. And work on the weekly training plan that I received based on my answers. These 15 minutes have become crucial for me because they not only help me to organize my thoughts, but also to prime myself emotionally for the day. Depending on the guided meditation I chose, I might train to focus on the things that drive me and that I want to accomplish in the long run, so I can find intrinsic motivation for the task that might require some self-control. Or perhaps I'm training to not take things too seriously and approach daily stresses with humor. Maybe there's a situation ahead that scares me. Then I'll prime myself to feel more confident and determined, for example, by vividly imagining my past successes or practicing a positive, self-compassionate self-talk. Finding the ideal meditation is necessary to optimally regulate yourself within the flow channel, because flow occurs when we ideally match our perceived skills with a perceived challenge. If you're afraid that you won't live up to a difficult challenge, you need to down-regulate yourself, cope with anxiety and stress, and develop trust and confidence in your skills to get in the zone. On the flip side, if you think you could do a task blindfolded, you need to challenge yourself, actively leave your comfort zone, adopt a growth mindset, as well as develop curiosity, motivation, and perseverance to find flow. Alternatively, instead of doing something good for my mental fitness, I sometimes do the opposite and lay in bed doom scrolling for an hour. You know, when lacking motivation, why not push yourself with a little dopamine rush, right? And although I know how this will make my focus and motivation drop over time, it's still a huge challenge to break that dopamine addiction. I don't even know what I'm doing. I guess mindlessly checking social media, scrolling through feeds, checking the news, reading messages, or sometimes even checking work-related messages to know what's awaiting me that day. But most of the time, this is more stressful than it helps me to order my thoughts. And this is what I'm trying to remind myself of in these moments as soon as I catch myself opening one of these apps. I'm not missing out on anything if I put my phone away for another hour. Okay, fast forward to after the meditation. Now that I'm in the right mental and emotional state, it's time for my body to get activated too. Lately, I join outdoor HIIT classes for an extra portion of vitamin D or spinning classes. There's nothing better than pushing yourself to your limits, physically and mentally. I'm always pumped with dopamine and endorphins when I leave, ready for my shower. And this one is my newest routine, taking cold showers. For most of my life, I couldn't put myself to turn the tap to the right. Only after I didn't have warm water in my flat for about 2 weeks, where I was forced to give up my hot showers, I got used to it. And now I even enjoy it. If you endure it long enough, there's a point where you can feel the dopamine rush in your body. At least that's the case for me. Neuroscientifically, both exercise and cold showers are considered a painful experience for the body. If you want to learn more about the science behind dopamine, check out our other video that you'll find in the info box. But briefly, normally we seek pleasure to release dopamine by checking our phones, eating high-caloric food, or stimulating ourselves with permanent music. This hedonistic pleasure is rather short-lived though, because we'll experience a dopamine crash afterwards, which can make you feel distracted, unmotivated, sluggish, or restless. This is not the case for these initially painful activities. Our body will release dopamine, but you won't feel the dopamine deficit state afterwards. This dopamine can help you focus deeply and find more motivation and energy for your workday, the perfect preparation for flow. There are studies showing that dopamine levels remain elevated up to 3 hours after taking a cold shower. Or I do nothing of that. Still getting my coffee though, that's a routine I'm holding on to in any case. When still tired, things like reading or journaling already feel too exhausting. So I tend to listen to voice messages or podcasts here. Any form of passive stimulation will do. Okay, at this point I'm starving. I always have one standard breakfast recipe that I eat every day for months before I have enough and switch to another one. At the moment it's chia seeds with almond yogurt, tons of nuts and seeds, fresh fruit, and a special algae oil to get my daily omega-3. If you're interested in how we can adapt our nutrition to find more flow states, let us know in the comments, then this could be a topic for a future video too. But cake will also do for breakfast. This is what my typical breakfast looked like for weeks during lockdown. But hey, there are worse things than starting your day with cake, right? And that's pretty much it. Now I only get my equipment ready, fill up my water carafe, and start working. We could also dive in deeper here, for example, on how to organize your workday according to flow principles. Just let us know if this is something you're interested in. Okay, now there are a few things that help me reduce these unproductive mornings and be more consistent with the healthy habits I want to implement in the long run. First and foremost, build it slowly. Especially after watching another perfect morning routine video or listening to self-improvement podcasts, I often feel the urge to change everything at once. I want to ditch all of my current routines and replace them with healthier ones. Waking up earlier, screen-free mornings, workout, meditation, healthy eating, and cold showers. Well, even when I manage to do that on my best days, this is something that I've built over the years. I tried out different variations and combinations until I found this one. And I'm constantly adapting and trying to improve my morning routine according to my needs. So if you want to build a new morning routine yourself, don't feel pressured to implement everything at once. You can rather see it as an inspiration or a toolbox to choose from and find out what works best for you. Just pick 1 or 2 routines first and be consistent with these for some time before adding another one. This is usually much more sustainable because you are less likely to feel overwhelmed and engage in all or nothing thinking. And this brings us to point number 2. Commit to small but daily efforts. Define the smallest possible version of your routine. Be it just taking 1 conscious deep breath rather than meditating for 15 minutes, or doing 1 squat instead of a full body workout. When it comes to habit building, this can help you maintain your routine even when your usual schedule gets disrupted, for example, because of a vacation or an appointment in the morning. So, what's 1 small step that you can take every day, no matter what? Focus on consistency and celebrate yourself for this commitment. As you've seen, it's mostly these tiny moments that only last a second where I make the decision of either going after the routine that makes me feel good in the long run or the one that makes me feel good in the moment. It's delayed versus instant gratification. So the question is, can you resist the temptation to seek this fleeting, short-term pleasure, knowing that your future self will be eternally grateful? In these crucial moments, I try to remind myself of my higher goals, my why. Why did I decide to implement that routine in the first place? What will I gain if I stick to it? How will I feel later today, especially because it was so hard to stay persistent? How will I feel in a few months from now? We can plan as many healthy routines as we want, but it takes grit, perseverance, and the right mindset to actually put these things into action. But luckily, we can train our minds and strengthen our inner drive. So if you want to build a new morning routine or also other healthy habits, I'd like to encourage you to start with daily mental fitness training first, because this will make sticking to any other habit you want to implement much easier. If you haven't done so already, have a go at the FlowLab app, where you'll get weekly training plans tailored to your individual needs. I'd be very curious to hear how you start your day and if there's a routine that you'd like to implement in order to find more flow. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and subscribe to our channel for more videos on peak productivity and flow states. Enjoy your day and see you soon.